That one phone call where LeBron James dropped the bomb that he was walking away. Man, I am still furious, okay? Go ahead, put it on the record. You have gone out and told the world you were absolutely crushed, and you have stated that you will never be able to shake the memory of that conversation where you just thought, wait, weren't we building an empire here? You know, the second LeBron made that call, I watched a potential dynasty fly right out the window. I didn't hate him for it, but I knew in my gut that this squad had a 10-year run in them. It was a dark day for me personally and for the organization because I wanted that dominance. Pat Riley looked King James dead in the eye and delivered the line nobody else in the league had the guts to say out loud. You ran because the kitchen got too hot? Let that sink in for a second. We aren't talking about a hot take artist chasing views, not a podcaster stirring up fake drama, not some washed up role player trying to grab a headline. This is Pat Riley, the most decorated mastermind the NBA has ever witnessed, the architect of eras, the man who constructed the very super team machine LeBron used to stack up his rings. And now he was finally ripping the curtain down and exposing what had been locked inside the vault for years. This is the type of real talk that rarely spills into the mainstream, but when the dam breaks, it shifts the entire landscape. What you are about to hear isn't barbershop gossip. It is the full, uncensored exchange. The one that forces you to view LeBron James through a different lens, not just as an icon, but as a human being. Because this stopped being about hoops a long time ago. This is about allegiance, about ego, and what happens when the greatest talent of his generation looks a godfather of the game in the face and picks the path of least resistance. Stick with me here, because this rabbit hole goes way deeper than the surface. As Riley confesses this, I spent 2 or 3 days in a state of pure, unadulterated rage. I was absolutely livid, venting only to myself and my inner circle. My master plan suddenly disintegrated. That roster, in 10 years, we could have easily hung 5 or 6 banners. But look, I get it. I understand the entire arc of LeBron's journey. He did the necessary thing. I finally made peace with the reality that he and his family expressed. You will never truly be embraced back in your hometown unless you return to fix it. Now, to really grasp why Riley's comments hit so hard in 2025, you have to rewind the tape to the start. Back when this alliance felt written in the stars, back when it looked like 2 titans were preparing to strangle the league without mercy. If you're enjoying this deep dive, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. When LeBron picked Riley's franchise, it wasn't just a signing, it was a declaration of war. LeBron had been hunting for his true identity for years. The kid from Akron, shouldering galaxy-sized expectations since he was 17, dubbed the chosen one before he was even legal to drink the champagne. He tried the solo act before, and it hit a wall. The finals defeats, the relentless noise, the not 1, not 2 memes that hounded him, every headline took a chunk out of his armor. Enter Pat Riley. Riley isn't some suit sitting behind a mahogany desk. This is a man whose DNA is on more trophies than most organizations will ever sniff. He didn't stumble into greatness. He engineered it, brick by brick. He coached legends. He molded locker rooms with sheer willpower. He has forgotten more about winning than most people in this sport will ever learn. So when LeBron stepped into that arena, Riley didn't just hand him a roster, he handed him a blueprint, a code, a system rooted in one thing above all else: grit. Mental grit, physical grit, emotional grit. Riley's entire brand screams one lesson. Victory isn't supposed to be comfortable. It is supposed to challenge you. It is supposed to burn. And Riley truly bet the house so that LeBron could survive that fire. He went all in. He restructured deals. He made savage front office moves that had pundits confused. He mortgaged the future because he believed in LeBron's appetite. He believed this was the union that would define a generation. And for a bright, high voltage window of time, it clicked. The banners were raised. The parades shut down the city. Champagne was flowing. The legacy was being minted in real time. Riley stood in the shadows, watching it happen, thinking, this is the model. This is the empire they will talk about for centuries. LeBron, 6 years removed from South Beach. Give us your take on Pat Riley. That is a massive question, man. I am not sure I follow. You're leaving it wide open. Like, when you hear the name Pat Riley, what is the first thing that pops into your head? How do you view that connection? When I hear the name Riley, I think about probably one of the greatest brains this game has ever produced. He has won at every single level. I saw a graphic recently that he has been part of a championship run in 4 different decades. You know what they say, winning a title is the ultimate deodorant. It masks the stench of dysfunction. When you're hoisting trophies, nobody mentions the friction. No one pays attention to the locker room drama. Beefs between management and players get swept under the rug. Frustrations are silenced. Victory acts like a blinding sun, washing out all the shadows. But the second the momentum stalls, the second adversity hits, that is when the skeletons start banging on the closet door. And when that tide turned, the dynamic between Pat Riley and King James shifted permanently. Following those glory years, a silent fracture began to open up between the executive and the superstar. Outwardly, it was all smiles, but behind the scenes, a canyon was forming. Riley's philosophy was entirely about constructing a dynasty that could survive the winter. He didn't believe in quick fixes. In his eyes, a team had to constantly adapt, embrace the grind, and love the struggle, especially when it hurt. Riley wanted to make ruthless, calculated moves that secured the franchise's dominance for a decade, not just a quick repeat. He needed everyone, Braun included, to have blind faith in the system, even if the roster looked a little rough around the edges. But James, he saw the board differently. Insiders who were in the room described the temperature dropping incrementally, month by month. It wasn't a shouting match, it was a slow freeze. LeBron wanted a sure thing. He wanted the deck stacked in his favor right now. He demanded guarantees about the road ahead, but Riley, he doesn't sell false hope. He knows the NBA is volatile. ACLs tear, salary caps tighten, superstars flip the script. He refused to write checks. His reality couldn't cash. They would leave meetings with handshakes, but the eyes didn't match. The debates were circular, going nowhere, and quietly, a dangerous realization began to take hold. LeBron was checking out of the culture. Riley kept charging ahead. He kept trying to bring everyone back to center. He tried to compromise. LeBron just kept drifting further away. Then the hammer dropped. Without the man-to-man sit-down that Riley demands as a standard of respect, LeBron was gone. If you're enjoying this deep dive, smash that like button right now. It helps the channel tons. Now, back to the exit. LeBron didn't leave in a way that honored what they built. He didn't look the Godfather in the eye and say, I'm out. He didn't handle his business face-to-face. There was no honest exit interview. For an old school operator like Riles, that was the ultimate violation. Transparency was the law. Instead, Riley found out the news at the exact same time you and I did. Imagine the sting for a guy wired like Pat Riley. His entire reputation is built on standing tall, on loyalty, on looking a man in the eye, even when the news is bad. In his mafia-style world, organizational bonds are sacred. If you have an issue, you voice it. If you walk, you say it. You don't ghost. But to Riley, LeBron ghosted. Sources close to the Heat describe Riley's reaction as a frozen, controlled rage. No tantrums, no breaking things. Riley doesn't scream. He goes silent. And let me tell you, that silence is way scarier than noise. In that cold quiet, he reportedly dropped a line that has haunted the halls of Miami ever since. He didn't leave because we weren't good enough. He left because the grind got too hard. That quote didn't hit Twitter. It didn't make the rounds. It just hung there, frozen in the air. This is what makes Riley a Hall of Famer. He doesn't panic. He doesn't run to ESPN the next morning. He doesn't fire off angry texts. He waits. He observes. He lets the game reveal the truth. And boy, did the truth come out. After James bolted, the exact struggles Riley warned him about manifested anyway. Just in a new zip code, injuries piled up, early playoff exits happened, questions about locker room chemistry trailed him season after season. You can't outrun the work in this league. It just follows you to the next city. Everything Riley had tried to steal him against the ugly slumps. The nights the rim has a lid on it, the crushing weight of expectation, showed up regardless, and Riley was watching. Every time a trade looked like chasing the easy path rather than building resilience, Riley took a mental note. Every time a squad folded when the moment demanded raw toughness, Riley saw it. He wasn't smiling, he wasn't bitter, he was just validated. Insiders say he never popped champagne over Bron's failures. He's a winner, not a hater, but he kept score, and as the seasons rolled on, that private comment from the breakup gained massive credibility. He kept the receipts. Every move. Over the years, Riley's stance didn't soften. It calcified. The day LeBron walked out didn't create that philosophy, it cemented it. Slowly but surely, you started hearing the subtext in the public eye. A jab and a presser that sounded standard until you listened again. A remark about sticking it out. A subtle, we have to tip our caps to the warriors who stay in the trenches. This isn't about trash talk. It's about precise, surgical language from a guy who plays the media game like a grandmaster playing chess. Pat Riley does not just freestyle when the mics are hot. Every single word has a purpose. At first, the masses slept on it. They weren't tuned in, but they were about to wake up fast. Then, 2025 hit. The godfather of the NBA took a seat and finally opened up. This wasn't the safe, rehearsed corporate speech of a suit trying to protect his brand. It was calculated, sure, but it was incredibly raw. It sounded like a man who had been sitting on a secret for a decade and finally decided that honesty was worth more than being polite. The quote tore through the sports universe instantly. Before ESPN or Bleacher Report could spin it, Twitter was already in meltdown mode. And there was Riley, cool as ice, delivering a message he had clearly been keeping in the chamber for a long time. He basically said that for all the glory, LeBron James had a habit of checking out when the kitchen got too hot, a habit of jumping ship for safer harbors instead of digging in when the battle required real grit. Then came the haymaker that shook the league. You can preach about legacy all day, but legacy is forged in the fire. And when it burned, he ran. The whole world stopped. Fans picked sides immediately. There was no gray area. One camp felt vindicated. The critics who had whispered this for years finally had a legend, co-signing their take. Old heads and former pros started sounding off. Pundits who used to be scared of the topic got brave. Riley gave them the green light. The other side, they clapped back just as hard. They called it sour grapes, called it rewriting history. They said it was just a powerful boss trying to polish his own statue by chipping away at someone else's. They threw every excuse in the book except the one thing they secretly feared was true. And LeBron, he said absolutely nothing. That silence screamed louder than any podcast appearance ever could. No clapback, no Instagram essay, no tearful sit down, just dead air. And somehow that silence made the accusation feel 10 times heavier. Before we go deeper, if you are loving this breakdown, smash that like button right now. Look, LeBron is on the Mount Rushmore of hoops. No debate. The stats are mythical. The longevity is alien. 20 years crushing the game. Rings, records, deep playoff runs. Nobody is taking that away. But legacy isn't just a spreadsheet, it is a story. It is what the streets believe about your heart when things got ugly. And now Pat Riley, a guy drowning in championship jewelry, has pinned a specific label on the king. It's not about skill, it's not about box scores, it is about character in the clutch. It is a narrative about a superstar who, when faced with a storm that needed patience and blind faith in a system he couldn't control, chose the exit door instead of the grind. That is the allegation. And the reason this story isn't dying is simple. It hits a nerve we all feel. It connects to choices that sparked arguments way before Riley grabbed the mic. How many times did Bron stare down a flawed roster, a GM he didn't vibe with, a road to the trophy that looked longer and bumpier than promised? And how many times did he pack his bags instead of riding the wave? Riley isn't talking about one trade demand. He is highlighting a lifestyle, a reaction to stress. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you want to stay ahead of this drama. The question he slammed onto the table is huge. It isn't about jumpers, it is about soul. Was LeBron dominant because he was mentally stronger, or was he dominant because he was smart enough to stack the deck? In his favor, every single time, that fire is raging right now, and it is not burning out. Here is the bottom line coming out of 2025. Pat Riley does not do clickbait. He doesn't waste breath. He doesn't throw shade just to trend. His entire reputation is built on heat, on demanding excellence, on drawing a line in the sand. And when he looked at the file on LeBron James, he essentially said, you came up short, not enough staying power when it hurt, not enough will to suffer through the bad times, not enough loyalty to the struggle once the cameras turned off. Meanwhile, LeBron, the mogul who built an empire on the concept of more than an athlete, has gone ghost. And sometimes saying nothing says it all. By the time the smoke cleared, this wasn't just old news. It had morphed into a full-blown war for history. Executives across the league were taking notes. Ex-teammates were dodging questions. Even current stars started watching their mouths when the topic of loyalty came up in pressers. Riley's words didn't just bruise LeBron, they forced the entire NBA to look in the mirror. Because here is the truth nobody wants to speak on. Player empowerment changed the game. The era of super teams redefined, the power dynamic shifted. Suddenly, stars were grabbing the wheel, dictating rosters, and handpicking head coaches. LeBron, he wrote the manual for that revolution. But Pat Riley, he is the last dawn of the old guard. A time when the franchise set the rules and players bent to the culture, never the other way around. You dug your heels in and made it work, even when the situation got ugly. This clash isn't personal, it's ideological. For Riley, that crest on the chest is sacred. The struggle is the point. Staying the course is the glory. For King James, flexibility is everything. Leverage is power. Seizing the best lane is the goal. Both formulas printed rings, both forged dynasties, but they preach two completely opposing gospels on what true greatness looks like. And hey, quick timeout, smash that like button if you are enjoying this deep dive. Now, insiders are dropping breadcrumbs. Nothing bombastic, just little confirmations that, yeah, those sit-downs got frosty. Yeah, there were times Riley looked LeBron dead in the eye and challenged him. There were talks about All In that just did not hit the same for both guys. None of it is a blockbuster alone, but stack the deck, the puzzle is solved. Pat Riley does not beg anyone to stay. That is not in his DNA. He draws a line in the sand and says, meet me here. If you don't, he turns the page. That is how he has run his ship for decades. Ruthless, maybe, effective, without a doubt. LeBron, conversely, weaponized mobility and influence. He grasped the concept of leverage faster than any jock before him. He wielded free agency like a sword. He forced front offices to level up or get left behind. That mindset shifted the tectonic plates of history. But it also sparked fire with traditional power brokers like Riley. And folks, if you want more updates on this saga, subscribe to the channel right now. Finally, that friction has a voice. The timing here adds serious spice. In 2025, LeBron isn't some kid hunting his first trophy. He is an icon on the back nine. Every conversation now is about the history books, about the final verdict. And Riley just dropped a footnote that screams for attention. You can feel the energy in the comment sections, on talk radio, in every barbershop. The question won't die. When the kitchen got too hot, did LeBron cook or did he find a new kitchen? That question lands harder today because history has a weird habit of stripping away nuance. Decades from now, nobody is reciting box scores. They will remember the vibes, they will remember the folklore, they will remember the tags. And Riley, whether calculated or not, just slapped the sticky one on the king, the runner. Fair game or foul play. That word is out there now. It is not about transition offense. It is about bailing when the adversity meter redlines. LeBron's inner circle, they haven't fired a single shot back. No press run, no snarky rebuttals, just loud silence. That might signals supreme confidence. It might be tactical, or maybe they know getting into a mud fight with Pat Riley only feeds the beast. Meanwhile, the Godfather stands firm. No apologies, no what I meant was, he spoke his truth, and he is planting his flag on it. Here is the kicker though. This beef might actually buff both their statues in different ways. Riley looks like the unshakable rock, the guardian of old school grit, the man who prizes loyalty over the easy route. That brand ages like fine wine. LeBron flips the coin and remains the avatar of modern athlete power, the guy who refused to be a pawn, who ran his jersey like a Fortune 500 empire, moving assets when the market shifted. That blueprint produced rings, records, and a reach that went way beyond the hardwood. 2 titans, 2 dogmas, 1 open wound. If we are being real, the truth usually lives in the gray area. Winning in the association is messy, circumstances change, bodies break, GMs whiff on deals. Staying put isn't always heroic. Packing bags isn't always cowardly. But when a guy with Riley's ring count questions your heart, that leaves a bruise. The league is now stuck with a subplot that refuses to fade to black. Every time we break down LeBron's journey, this quote is going to hover. Every time Riley preaches culture, we are going to connect the dots. And the wild part, neither man needs the other anymore. Their banners hang forever, their resumes are stamped, their Hall of Fame tickets are punched, but legacy is not just about the hardware. It is about what people believe you stood for when the chips were down. And thanks to one dagger of a sentence in 2025. That belief is up for debate again. Listen, at the buzzer, one thing is undeniable. This was never just a squabble over hoops decisions. This was a war over identity. Pat Riley is the flag bearer for endurance, for planting your feet when the storm hits, staring down pressure and saying, good, let it test us. That is the code he has lived by for decades. Championships were never handed to him. He forged them through grind, discipline, and standards that simply aren't ready for. LeBron James isn't just a player, he's the architect of a new world order, an era defined by total player control, by mastering the art of leverage and wielding it like a weapon. He refused to let franchises dictate his destiny. Instead, he grabbed the pen and wrote the script himself. That mindset shifted the NBA landscape permanently, teaching a whole generation to look beyond the paycheck and the locker room. Both icons won big. Both carved out legacies that are etched in stone. But when Pat Riley dropped the hammer, saying, you can talk about legacy all you want, but legacy is built in the hard moments, he changed the conversation. He implied that when the pressure peaked, LeBron bailed. Riley forced the entire sports world to re-examine the Kings' resume through a harsher lens. And that is exactly why this beef will never die. It cuts deeper than box scores. It strikes at the heart of character and how we define true greatness. Is being the best about constantly maneuvering into the most advantageous spot? Or is it about digging your heels in and weathering the storm when the ship starts sinking? There is no simple verdict here. One camp will always argue LeBron was a genius, that he played 4D chess to stack up rings and preserve his body. The other side screams that real legends don't run from the grind. They embrace the ugly parts. Both sides have valid points. Both have the footage to back it up. But here is the kicker that makes this narrative so gripping. It is not over. LeBron's story isn't a closed book collecting dust. It is being analyzed and rewritten in real time. Every post-game quote, every title chase, every business deal adds another coat of paint. And now, Riley's brutal honesty is stuck to that permanent record. Decades from now, when the definitive documentaries air, this specific clash will be the climax. The quote, the fallout, the deafening silence, it perfectly captures the war between two distinct basketball philosophies. Old school loyalty against modern agency. The merit of endurance versus the brilliance of strategy. Staying to fight versus moving to conquer. And perhaps that is the ultimate lesson here. It is not about one man being the villain and the other the hero, but realizing that greatness is subjective. Riley broadcasted his cold, hard, and direct. LeBron broadcasted his through trophies, empire building, and an influence that transcended the court. Now, we just have to wait for history to crown a winner. But one thing is guaranteed: that single sentence in 2025 blew the lid off a debate that is not going anywhere. Every barbershop argument about the GOAT, every top 10 list, every heated segment on sports radio will eventually circle back to this very tension. And honestly, that is what makes sports so electric. It is never just about the final score. It is about pride, ego, and belief systems colliding. It is about how the Titans view themselves versus how their peers judge them. But I'm done talking. I want to know what you think. Was Riley out of line, or did he just say the quiet part out loud? Did LeBron crack the code on career management, or did he fold when the going got tough? Where do you fall on this divide? Sound off in the comments below, because we need to settle this. And hey, if you are vibing with this deep dive and want more unfiltered analysis on the drama behind the game, smash that like button right now. It helps bring more fans into the huddle. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you are front and center for the next episode. Send this video to that one friend who loves NBA arguments, and hit that notification bell so you are locked in the second we go live. Catch you on the next one, the second we break the next big story. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next highlight reel.